Hey everybody, this is Rusty again with Collector Auctions. I've got a short comic book haul video for you. I went to a little comic book show down in Laurel, Maryland over the weekend, and I picked up some nice books, as well as a really nice book I picked up from Heritage Auctions, something I've always wanted that I never owned. This is the first time I've ever owned this book, and I'm pretty excited to tell you about that one too. But let's start with the comic book show. It was down in Laurel, Maryland. It's the same show that, if you've watched my previous videos, I've been to before. This show alternates between Hunt Valley, Maryland and Laurel, Maryland. And this time it was down in Laurel. It's very close to the house, so it's very easy to get up and go down to it. It is a very nice little show. It's a nice mix of old books as well as new modern books. There's some sellers there that I really like dealing with. I'm getting to know them a little bit better, and I'm definitely enjoying the quality of some of their books and kind of understanding their prices and everything. And I ended up going into that show without an agenda, and for me it's a little bit dangerous to go in there without really having a list. What am I looking for? And I wasn't sure what I was going to do. I kind of made up my mind that I was going to be an open book. I'd come in, take a look around and see what I wanted. Now, unlike the last show I went to, which was the one leading up to the George Perez signing with CGC, which unfortunately now has been canceled due to his health condition and everything. But during that show, I was looking for some really high-grade books to send to that signing. Books like Crisis on Infinite Earths number 7 and number 8. Trying to think. New Teen Titans number 44, the origin of the first appearance of Nightwing, and the origin of Deathstroke. Things like that. I was looking for really nice copies to send in, and I did find those. I did really well finding a lot of those copies, and that was very successful. And only after I had found those books during that show did I start looking around for some of the things that had been on my previous want list. And those want lists go all the way back to the fall, back to the big comic book con here in Baltimore, the Baltimore Comic Con, where I was looking for certain books that I could find in high grade, clean and press, send to CGC, and for resale. And that's what I've been working on, and that's what I've been doing mostly, trying to find these certain kind of books, and books that I could bring up in grade with a little clean and pressed, books I could send in that has a lot of value at those high grades. And so it's been very easy leading up to this show, knowing what I've been looking for. So I went into this show and I was an open book. I've kind of put a slow roll on sending to CGC after if you've been watching, if you go back and look at all the videos I've been doing a lot of CGC videos where I've been submitting, and it's a lot of books over the last 2 months where I've been cleaning and pressing, sometimes almost non-stop. I've literally had 2 presses going with 2 books in at the same time on each one, almost 24/7. And to get those books, all those books ready, it's taken a lot of time, and I put a lot of effort into it. But I've also spent a lot of money trying to get those books ready to go, as well as putting a lot of money into the submissions. So I go into this show this weekend. I'm trying to pull back a little bit. I don't need to go in there and find another copy of Fantastic Four 244. Although I did find one, it wasn't in high grade, and trust me, if I had found it in high grade and it was a good price, I would have picked it up, because all of that experience over the last few months looking for that book has taught me what to look for, what prices to pay, things like that, without having to look it up again. And so there's books like that. There's always that handful of Spider-Man, Avengers, XMen books, lower price, but at high grades they command a nice price once you get them graded. So I went into this and I said, I'm not really doing that. Let's look for something for the private collection, for my own personal collection here. Let's find something that I want to get. Now, whether I want to get it and just hold on to it, or whether I want to get it and get it graded, that's okay. I could figure that out. And so I went in, open book, and I realized that was a mistake, because I'm kind of rudderless. There's so many things I'm seeing, but do I want them for the PC or did I want them to resubmit to CGC? And I wasn't in the mood to get them for CGC. Again, I'm doing it for my personal collection. So I resisted. I circled that show 5 times before I actually picked up a book. I wasn't interested in some of the lower grade things. I was actually looking for something a higher grade, not necessarily a Grail book or anything, but I was looking for things. And on that short list for me are some of the John Buscema, Tom Palmer, Avenger books that I'm looking for in high grade from the 1969 to 1970 in that time period. I'm looking for high grade in those, and I knew that was on the list. And I'm always looking for Fantastic Four 67. It is a very sought after book right now because of the origin of Warlock and everything, and so I'm having to be careful. A lot of people are overcharging for that book, so I definitely want to find a higher grade one, but I want to find a deal as well. And then the only other book that really made my short list of what do I want right now for my personal collection is Spider-Man 122, The Death of the Green Goblin. And I get there and that Spider-Man was the one I was looking for. And I ended up finding it. Somebody had it graded. It was I believe it was a 5.0, and I really wasn't happy with the price on it. But I kind of looked at it, put it back, kept it in my mind just in case. And I don't know. I still probably wouldn't have bought it just because I didn't like the price. I think I'm going to end up trying to find a ungraded version, work on it, and try to bring up the grade and get it graded myself at some point. But I did find that, and again, another lap around the show, and I almost walked out without buying anything. And I didn't want to just go in there and spend money on random books, small keys, maybe, but I really wasn't in the mood to buy smaller books. I was looking for a bigger book. And I did find the Fantastic Four 67. It was not cheap. And those were raws, and I felt like the price they were asking may have been fair if the grades were better, but I felt like the conditions were mid-grade, and I thought the prices were way too high. So I passed on those as well. So I ended up going to one dealer, and it was one of the last ones I ended up going to, and he didn't have a lot on the table, had some moderns on the table, but then he had one box that had some really nice books in it, and it had a little run of XMen in there. And the only problem was they were consignment. I couldn't work a deal with him. I probably would have walked out of there with 5 or 6 in this run, but let me show you what I've got. So I ended up with XMen 110 and XMen 112. And the reason I got these, and I also had, I want to say they had 113, 114, and 115 as well. There were some other ones around that, but they had all these. Prices were a little high, but what impressed me on these, and the other ones as well, was the condition. The condition of these things looked fantastic. And yes, you can see some spine creases here, but there's no color ticks. There's nothing breaking the color, and on either one of these, and I'm going, wow, this is really great. And before I knew it was a consignment for this dealer, I literally had 4 of them there. I was about ready to make an offer before he threw out, it's like, yeah, it's a consignment, I can't work a deal. I can't take them off. Its price is what it is. And I was like, okay, I guess I put a few of these back because I didn't want to spend that much money. So I ended up buying these 2 right here. I put 114 and 115 back, knowing that I've got 115 at CGC right now. 113, I'll come across it again at some point. They also had 113, and was 113? Yeah, 113. That's a book I really want. I've got a graded version at 9.2 that I love, but I want to try to get all of these John Byrne XMen. Now I know one of these is still Dave Cochran, but most of those John Byrne XMen I'm trying to get into at least a 9.6 on that entire run. And I ended up not getting that one because good as that book looked, down in the corner of that one, number 113, the corner was, I wouldn't even say a tear, it's just like the corner was missing, just a little piece right there, and I'm going, wow, if I send this in, I don't even know if I'm going to get a 9.6. So I didn't want to put that kind of money into a book that I already knew was going to have a problem. So I pulled away from that one. I put back 114 and 115, and I went with these two right here. And part of the reason I went with that is at the price that I was paying for these and the grade I think I can pull on these, this right here was an investment book. Once it's graded, I think I can pull a 9.6. I think I can almost pull 9.8s off both of these. And the price significance for something like that, it's fantastic. And these are books that I want to get graded for myself, that I want to put into PC, that I want to be able to hold on to as investment items down the line. Maybe this is something I trade at some point. I don't need to turn around these books and just sell them. But I was really happy with both of those, and super psyched to get working on these. I'm not in any hurry. These books are going to sit there for a while before I send out any more CGC submissions. As you know, look at my video list. You've seen a lot of CGC orders go out recently. I need to put a little bit of time before I send out another one, and especially one that's going to be a more expensive order anyway. So anyway, very good. I was very happy with both of those. And I'd never owned either one of those books. I've read them, but in trade paperbacks, but I never owned either one of those. And so the only other place I ended up finding something that really just piqued my interest was, again, let's go back to those Avenger books I was talking about. John Buscema, Tom Palmer, early Avengers, their early Avengers run. And out of that 10 or so issues, the biggest issue out of all of those is number 83. That's the first appearance of Valkyrie, although it was the Enchantress in disguise, but it is the first appearance of Valkyrie. And I actually own, I want to say I own at least one page of original artwork from that issue as well. I should bring that out at some point and show you. I'll do that in another video. But that's the expensive, really expensive book out of that run. The rest of them can be expensive, but nothing like that. And I didn't even have it in my mind that I would even find that book, or much less at a really good price. But I found one dealer. He had, again, it's weird. He had a dealer who had all kinds of boxes of modern books, but then he had one row of boxes that had a lot of Silver Age, really nice books. And in that box, he had at least 5 copies of Avengers 83, and there it was. And I ended up getting a little bit of a deal off of this. He took a few dollars off, which is what a little bit helps. But the grade on this was the best copy out of every one he had there. And I think the condition's just fantastic. I mean, and we're not talking 9.8, but we're talking absolutely fantastic. I think there is a few spots on the back that I don't know if I'll be able to pull out, but the rest of it, in terms of color breaks and things like that, and little creases and everything, I think this is really nice. There's no real color breaks over here, and just absolutely beautiful. I've owned a copy of this for years. It's a mid-grade copy that I've never considered getting graded, but this right here, absolutely I'll get graded. And if I can pull something in the mid to upper 9.4 or even 6 on something like this, man, that's fantastic. But I would be happy if it came back as an 8.5 or a 9.0 even. I think it can pull a little bit better. I think it'll depend on how well I do with the clean and press on this. But this was the third book I picked up at the show. Super happy. Again, I didn't pick up a lot of books this time, but I don't know if I've been happier with what I've picked up, and especially for the private collection, for the personal collection. So got that one. I am super psyched on that. All right, so the last book I picked up over this last week, it was something that came in from Heritage Auctions. And if you've seen these videos, I talk about buying graded books from Heritage. I try to find good values, and I felt like I paid a really nice price on this book. And it's a book I never had, and it's another X-Men. This is X-Men 121, and this is the first full appearance of Alpha Flight. And I never had this book. I've read the story and everything, and ended up, this is an 8.0. Paid, I thought, was a pretty decent price for that. It's probably in the upper range on this book, but at 8.0, I'm still happy to get this and everything. And once I got it, though, this is the thing I want to talk about. Once I got it, I realized, of course, I'm not the best at looking to make sure it's a newer CGC grade or it's a little bit older, but it is in one of the older cases. You can tell that by the color of the pages isn't over in the white box, it's over in the middle here. And so it's definitely an older case. You can actually feel it and tell the difference. It's not quite as thick and everything. And okay, that's fine, no big deal. I just did a reholder for Avengers 125 that came back. It looked great. It was fantastic. I was happy that the grade retained. I never even considered doing anything with that book, the Avengers book. But this one, as I'm looking over it, I'm looking at this and I'm seeing there's a little bit of a crease in the cover there, and there's a couple little spine text, and there's a little bit of a corner crunch back here and up here in this upper corner, and I'm going, man, these are pressable defects. And so I'm actually considering breaking this one open, doing a clean and press, and resubmitting it. And I think that I can get this bumped up at least, I want to say, at least 1 to 3 grades. I think this is a really nice copy. I think I can get this thing to be really spectacular. So I think that's what I'm going to do with this. This is going to be an experiment. I'll work on this. I'll take my time. I've never cracked open a case like this. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, guys, that's it for today. I didn't pick up a lot of other books this week. I did get my monthly shipment in from M&M Comics. That's who I subscribe with. That's where I get most of my comics. I did go to my local comic book shop and picked up a few things that I had missed. Nothing significant. Pretty happy with everything. It was nice to get the order in from M&M Comics. I had ordered Strange Academy number 15, so that's a sought after issue. And also in that same box was Hulk number 3, and what was it? It was what was it? Thor number 20 was number 20. The first appearance of Mjolnir, the God of Hammers, was in that. So it was pretty nice to get that box and get those books in. All 3 of those books have been highly sought after over the last month. They've all gotten on the hot list, and so it was nice to have those books pre-ordered and have those copies come in. So that was nice. I didn't want to bring them out here for this particular video and everything. This video was more about the books like this that I pick up and everything. But anyway, guys, that's it for today. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed the video today, hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you for the next one. Take care.